Welcome. I'm your host, Paula Scatoloni, the founder of Transformative Harmonics, a podcast that offers listeners a synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Transformative Harmonics. I'm Paula Scatoloni, and today I am taking us on a different kind of journey. I am bringing on a guest who I haven't met or known personally in the ways that I usually speak. As someone who, I love it when people just pop on to my radar and trusting the mystery and trusting that this conversation is meant to happen. So that's what we're going to do today. As always, before we begin, I invite you to tune into the frequency of my voice and my guest's voice and the dialogue between us to allow anything that needs to land in the body to land. And whatever doesn't feel resonant, to let that wash over and find a place somewhere else. And you may return to it later, knowing that I think there's stages of which we can ingest the information, because I know we're stretching paradigms here. And from even on my own journey, had to decide, do I have a place for that to land? So I invite all of you into that today, knowing we're just here to talk and share. And all of it is choice and what you're ready for. So my guest today is Sydney Campos. Sydney is a best-selling author, master clairvoyant, and 3-time founder who bridges entrepreneurship, embodiment, and multidimensional healing. Featured in Forbes 3 times, she has raised over $1 million for frontier ventures and guided hundreds of leaders through transformational coaching, retreats, and trainings. With 2 best-selling books reaching more than 80,000 readers worldwide, Sydney empowers visionaries to embody authenticity, resilience, and purpose. Through her soul source methodology, courses, and global retreats, she offers both practical tools and live energetic transmissions to catalyze profound clarity and transformation.
I love that, anticipation and transformation.
Yeah, I love that word. I mean, that's even a great place to start, this word transformation. And yeah, I think we both live in that world. So I'm thrilled to have you. I'm going to tell a backstory before I have you talk, which is when Sydney reached out to me, as it does, often people reach out and I've said no to quite a few people. But when she reached out, I realized that I'd used her book in my mentorship, and that, as people are going through my mentorship, it's a lot to explain awakening and ascension to folks. There's a lot to it. And so I have a lot of resources and invite people to use those resources. And I don't adhere to one over another. I just say, hey, these are some resources to explain what's happening to you. And so Sydney's book was one of them. And so that was part of why I said yes, because there's some affinity here to, what's in her, what she's sharing with the world and what she's doing in her retreats. And so I'm just thrilled to have you here today. So welcome.
So fun. Yeah, that was such a fun moment when I was sharing with you. I'm just feeling that intuitive guidance to reach out to some new people. And it was this very multidimensional. Well, I was using ChatGPT, honestly. And I'm like, what are the best embodiment focused podcasts? And who are the people that are really speaking about this time of integration and being an integrated whole being, right? With our activation of intuition and multidimensional abilities, and also grounded purpose and ability to create and actualize in the physical world. And so your name came up, and then I just trusted and reached out. And then to hear that you're using my book, I'm Ascending, Now What? It warmed my heart so much to receive. So thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I am excited to dig in here and thinking about some of the things that my audience might like to hear about. I do talk a lot about embodiment, and I do help people to take their suffering and use that as a catalyst. And I do often refer people to your book to make sense of their journey sometimes, because you've had quite a journey yourself as well. And so those are some of the ways I've been using it. And I know that now, in addition to that, you are moving into helping leaders and growing globally with this work. And so I'm happy to kind of start there and feel into, your journey and what feels important right now to you.
Yeah. Well, honestly, the last year has really been about deeper inner work, just of my own embodiment and coming into more integrity with some of what I've been teaching for years and just, wanting to embody that more fully in myself. And so it's actually looked like being a bit more incognito and a bit more in a cocoon and less so much on the outward, like global stage in some of the ways I had been operating for many years. And, I had to kind of go inward this last year. The end of 2023, I closed a business I had been building for 3.5 years, and it needed to end, but it also catalyzed for me a really deep, awakening layer into the ways in which I had been attaching my value to external creation, to validation seeking from externals, that kind of thing, proving my worth, which is a pattern I had known about for my whole life, but it was a deeper awakening of this. And it just really, it was painful. And I had to go through that recovery process, which is about 2 years or so. But it brought me to such a deeper level of integrity within myself and peace, and just this feeling, which I'm still, it's not maybe who knows if these things are ever complete, but there's, cycles we go through. And I feel like I'm in a completion of sorts with, just this deeper sense of my true value and worth beyond anything that I do. For so long, I was identified with my work being the sole marker of my value in the world. And to really differentiate from that was extremely challenging, very painful. Had to go through a lot of emotional processing and just a lot of, kind of self-guided work where I didn't feel like I could really actually get support for some of the things that I had to just face at the end of the day. But I feel so much more resilient and, talk about transformation. I feel completely different from who I was then. And I just feel now this opening, like ready to serve in a bigger way.
Yes. Well, some of the things I'm hearing you say are things I've been observing the last couple months. Well, from the beginning, when we start to look at the thousands and thousands of people that are starting to come into more awakening and then move into businesses of supporting others. And some of that can involve our tendency to still be in the ego, even through that process, right? Of how we market ourselves in social media and how we bring our gifts forward. And so it sounds like some of that is a terrain that you had to dig into and unpack, because that's cultural conditioning, right?
Yes.
Even, right? Of how we need to arrive with our gifts and what kind of packages they need to be in, and how that service is then sold, right, to others. And so it feels like the timing of this conversation is important, given the thousands and thousands of people out there that are in this place of leadership or guidance or support. And so is that part of who you're helping now? People that already have platforms and but haven't done sort of that piece of taking it deeper beyond the ego?
Yeah. A lot of people I'm now attracting more, and I've been serving in the space for like a decade or so, but now I'm attracting even more people that are really, I would say, operating at a high level of influence and impact and stewarding a lot of resource for the planet, but then also having this emotional kind of opening, right? Heart opening, kind of spiritual opening. And then, sometimes a crisis of identity, of like, well, wait a minute, I've created everything on the physical plane. Where's my deeper connection to my sense of purpose for being here? Like, what am I really here for? What do I really value? And how do I get in touch with that deeper essence, to connection to source or connection to oneself, right? And to have that depth of, and kind of what I said, honestly, like helping to value yourself for just being beyond what you've created, beyond what you've done, beyond what the world has taught you is required, to be worthy, to be valued. And it's a very deep unraveling at times to really be to be in some of these inner spaces. I mean, for me, it's been a lot of reparenting and just really connecting with kind of abandoned inner aspects. And, I've been doing inner child work forever, but this is like a whole new depth that I had never experienced before, touching into some of these aspects that have felt so abandoned and so kind of cast aside and so forgotten. And it feels like the energy now on the planet is just very ripe for these kinds of very deep explorations. Even if, some of us have been doing this work before, we're able to go much deeper.
Yes. Yeah. It speaks to me. I don't know if this was so on your journey, that we also start including more ancestral and more collective when we drop into those other layers.
Yes.
And it's like pulling a ball of yarn, and the yarn ball keeps growing. Okay, there's my mom, there's my grandma, there's all the women that, it just kind of keeps going. And that level of pain is a lot to hold and to move through.
It's a capacity. Yeah. And it's very, my journey at this point is very transpersonal based. So it's just very much about kind of this more, I've done so much work and billions of family constellations and just so much work on my ancestry and lineage. And kind of what I was processing, just to be very current and transparent of what it's looking like now. Just last week, I feel like I was contacting this deep wound of, feeling abandoned by God and just feeling like I'm in the wrong time. I'm ahead of my time. I'm still on the wrong timeline. I'm on the wrong planet. I was left in this bizarre place where nobody understands, and I can't filter down what I'm here to do anymore. Like, I can't do that, which is part of the proving myself. For years, I was kind of filtering and, wanting to be received, wanting to belong, wanting to be seen, but then filtering my message and potency of what I was really wanting to say in order to your point, land with people. But it wasn't truly authentic. It was the best I could do at that time, and I helped many people, but just very different from how I want to orient now. And so I was processing this feeling of abandonment from, God or my own source even. Like, what am I doing here? Is this the right place? And I really had to contact some of these newer, older, but maybe not yet fully utilized aspects, of like inner protector, guardian, and just support, and a really young age, really young, kind of innocent being that just wants to play and have fun and is not thinking about what people are thinking and isn't filtering or trying. And a lot of grief processing about, just as we become more aware and sensitive, it's, there's a lot of grief on the planet that is not, people are not processing and are disassociating from. And you can really feel into it sometimes. It's like, okay, that is the planetary collective grief that is just sitting here like a cloud. I can feel a little bit of that if it's relevant to me to process, but also let me have discernment of what is mine and what is not. And I don't always have to touch that or be like drowning in that intensity.
Yes. Yeah. And helping people discern that as well for themselves. Yeah. I think of it as the water. We're in a fishbowl, and this water we're swimming in is toxic, or, has layers of density in it. But because it's the water of the fishbowl, we don't think of it as something, that's separate, that's there around us, those frequencies. So, yeah. So as you get more and more in touch with that inner child, that pure light of the inner child, then there's more different things that come forward, maybe now in your work. And so what has that brought you into?
More fun and more relaxation, more allowing, more kind of, surrendering to what is meant to come, getting out of the way. It looks very tangibly like more pausing before responding to that impulse. I have very ingrained impulse to create and to be like creating a container, creating a company, building something, setting up an event. And it looks more now like pause and really discerning, like, wait a minute. Yeah, I feel an intuitive sense of holding space for a group or a retreat or something coming, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have to actually create it. It could just be that it's on the way, it's coming. So this has actually happened in the last week after I had that processing moment, the week-long kind of death. And then, of course, it's like, oh, yes, my intuition was correct. I'm going to be invited to facilitate. And some of these very aligned spaces that I myself couldn't have even fathomed, standing up, creating on my own.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think I'm feeling that too, or feeling those places being created. Like people have been making them in the background, or people have been making places, but they don't know why they've been making it, but they know it's there. Have you had,
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing a lot. Yeah, they're buying land, but not sure why, but they know they need to buy it because something's
Exactly.
going to happen on it.
Yes, listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not always shown the full vision before it is meant to start, seeding, and definitely, yeah, and even online kind of platforms and different community gathering spaces, and a lot happening kind of behind the scenes as well, because it's not time yet. Like the next 2 years are going to be very exciting to see more of this alignment of some of the things a lot of us have been tracking, and then feeling like, oh yeah, now it's going to be the time.
Yes. It's like the party hasn't started yet.
We're starting to preview. It's coming.
The pre-party.
Mhm.
The pre-party. Yeah, definitely. And so, with the move into more and more of the leadership area, I'm about to speak on a podcast about leadership as well. So it's interesting, because I do think there's this question of, how are we going to be thinking differently about as things shift in the world and something new is being called to be rebirthed, right? Then the leaders, or the people that are the change agents, or the think tanks and the places where change happens. Who are those places, or what do you see happening with that you're being called into next?
Yes, I want to support people with the highly attuned systems to rise. Those who have felt really overwhelmed by the intensity of the world, or who have felt like it's not my time, or nobody understands. It's kind of, we need you. We need deeply feeling, attuned, embodied leaders who can trust their intuition, who have developed relational mastery and the ability to truly collaborate and really play in more of these subtle energetic fields of, I call attunement, listening, like true co-creation. Because otherwise we just go in circles and cycles, creating the same thing over and over again through these different trauma projections and imprints that keep us stuck. So I've been immersed in that world really since my whole life, but 2018 was when I started to get really called to build retreats and trainings around this, coherence, basically the invitation to cohere,
Yes.
to come into presence, to attune to one another, to see beyond the personality, and then to learn how to source guidance and direction from, this more divine or just clear plane, right? Where new ideas are birthed, where really new structures can come from, where the future is, coming from, for us to receive. And so, but it's the embodiment piece. And honestly, there's so much trauma that needs to be kind of cleared and worked through in order for people to have that clarity to really listen to each other and really collaborate. And again, I've been doing this for years, and I feel so excited because I feel now it's becoming more normalized, and more leaders, like top CEOs, investors, they're like, oh yeah, energy. Oh yeah, nervous system regulation. Oh, emotional intelligence. Oh, empathy. And it's so amazing because people are so much more ready for it, because it all makes so much sense. I mean, energy is the ultimate resource that we really have to play with here, and might as well make it, fully clear that we're all on the same page about that, and then get into our self-mastery work, but together in community, come out of the closet with our spiritual practices and our, healers that we don't want anyone to know about, like just be honest and open and transparent about this, and, be fully integrated.
Yeah. I hear you. Hooray for that. I was chatting with someone talking about, how these CEOs and people in big companies are all going, to meet with the intuitives. And it's part of their practice of how they make their business decisions.
Yes.
Right?
Always.
Yeah.
For many, I mean, it's like one of the oldest jobs of all time is the oracle. The oracle and the prostitute, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the big leaps, where I'm listening deeply lately is, and you're speaking into the trauma, is the energetics of the trauma that are still in the earth. And that's where I'm called lately too, of just that deep listening and going to the places and being with and inviting some transmutation of that through the ancestral work and in collaboration with the ancestors as well. And so that simultaneously, I hope, can also support what we're doing with.
It is. That's some of the most important work of all, because that's setting the energetic templates in place for the planet, for these physical visions to actualize into form. They require specific harmonics to be activated on the earth at certain times, at certain places, by certain beings. And this is essential. So it's so funny. That's what we're really doing in these retreats and gatherings, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. I mean, grid work, right? And this is something I'd also love to see more normalized, that, we all have this intuitive radar. Every single person, your body has a certain radar or a resonance to particular places on the planet where you may feel more at home or familiar, or you may have access to certain abilities or memory. You might just feel good or nourished, right? Whatever it is for you. And there's an invitation now more than ever to really consciously contact these places and spaces, physically or etherically, and just see what healing can emerge, see what resource and support you might be able to exchange, see what gift you may be able to receive, or what gift you might be able to offer.
Yes, I agree. Sometimes it can be in your own yard, in your own space that you are living, right? And then sometimes it's just a deep calling. Like we were talking before we even started today of living in Hawaii. And that for me was, the minute I got off the plane, I was 21. And I said, I'm home. I'm home. Yeah.
I cry every time I go on the plane. I just have tears because I feel like home, and the ancient memory of home, of Lemuria and the original template of a harmonious, higher dimensional advanced society of peace, abundance, vitality, just heaven. We remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, more and more people that are waking up to those memories. So it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time.
Yes. And a lot are being called to places. I think I don't know if I talk about this in my book, but and part of awakening can be to have these really strong callings, to different parts of the earth at certain times. And it's so important to listen, because when you're called to, a particular place, it can be anywhere. Hawaii, there's certain Lemurian portals, or like Sedona, Hawaii, Mount Shasta, New Zealand, Australia, but all over the world, Bali, and all over Europe, everywhere. I mean, the whole planet, this playground. And you might be called to go because there's actually an activation, or like a transmission, or just without all the jargon, support for you to receive energetically, where really it can feel like a part of your soul, a part of your being, part of your true self can integrate with the support of the energies that are also awakening in these different parts of the earth now.
Yeah. And do you feel, well, I mean, I already know, but I'm going to ask the question for the audience so they can hear the answer with the volcanic eruptions. That's definitely part of it.
Yes. Yeah? Everything's getting redesigned, rewired, shaken up, cleaned out. It's like a detox. Like if we shake our bodies and we're cleansing density and trauma and breaking up these, kind of, solidified pathways that should be flowing more light and presence more easily. We're breaking all those up. So absolutely the earth is going through its own recalibration as it's wanting to harmonize with some of these higher dimensional grids that are now becoming more accessible as the overall planetary frequency is increasing.
Beautiful. Well, one of the things I heard this week in one of the communities was that there's just more and more people that have chosen to make this shift, more than we even imagined. And that's exciting. That's exciting. And then there's the, question of how do we keep supporting them in their process to keep going? Because I know even, for myself, there's moments of I can't go any further. So either I need to pause, like you're saying, pause and go inward, or reach out for support, right? With someone who can help you be with. Yeah. Because it's not there's lots of points where you hit stuckness, right? And pain and suffering or blocks along the way.
Usually a signal to pause mostly. Yeah, to pause and really slow down and integrate, metabolize, especially now there's such a popular, it's like healing and catharsis and one more ceremony and retreat after retreat and so exciting, like the seeking can be so exciting because you're awakening and you're feeling and you're remembering and it's so empowering. But there can also be this trap of endless seeking and moving so fast and not giving, space to metabolize, to integrate. I wrote something recently, it kind of came through as guidance for me. A lot of my writing is really just guidance from my guides to myself. So a way that I can really hear it. And, it was about integration. And it was like the missing piece that most leaders avoid, integration and metabolizing of all of the lessons and the changes and the transformation, because it can be so intimate and so vulnerable, can feel so much depth of oneself. And like we're building this capacity to actually feel more of our own power, to feel more of our presence, just in being, can break down a lot of those old patterns of, the external validation seeking and needing to be something for other people and the martyr syndrome and saving the world and all this stuff. And it's just such a different way of operating. It's been one of my biggest growth edges to slow down because I love to move at the speed of light, but so much richness happens. This is where we come into coherence, is with the slowness.
Yeah, we talk about a lot in my programs, this idea of yielding and connecting. But as a civilization, we're not deeply connected to the earth and anchoring there in that slower resonance. And so until we find that pathway, it's hard to slow down because it's almost like we're operating on the fast frequency, right? The not enough frequency. If I don't do this, something bad's going to happen frequency. So that pause and that yielding to feel what's there and to trust it is what many of us are cultivating.
Absolutely. Yeah. The fear likes to move really fast. That's where it can be really sneaky and enticing. Anxiety, that anxiety matrix, it's very present now, that very frenetic, fast moving energy. Whereas to sit in the more quiet, coherent energy can be so also exposing. It can talk about not feeling like you belong. It's like being that pillar of that present, quiet nervous system around so much frenetic insanity. Can feel isolating at times, can feel, but we're here to do that. We're here to be, we're here to be those examples because it will become the norm. That's what we're evolving back into, is that remembrance of the more original pacing and original nervous system, right? Of that coheres with the planet, where we can work with those energies more resourcefully. And then the ironic thing is, we think it's so slow, but really it's actually more efficient and quite faster on the manifestation level when we're actually slow, present. This is something I'm totally not mastered in, by the way, but I can be pretty masterful in it when I'm facilitating groups. I don't know if you have this experience. When I'm in service and I'm facilitating a retreat or group, I'm in mastery of coherence. Like I can do that when I'm in service. I'm learning how to do that more just on my own for myself and with more consistency. That's a growing edge for me. But the funny thing is, when I am stabilized in those states, the manifestation acceleration is hilarious. It's so profound. Like we're creating so much faster, so much more efficiently, with so much more ease when we slow down. So it's kind of like slowing down to speed up.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I think of it, because I talk a lot about frequency, it's finding that frequency of easefulness, right? Where you're being supported. It's like, if I like metaphors, if we were on a surfboard and we're letting that wave carry us to shore. And, so much of we're trying to, stand up on the wave or do the work ourselves, right? Rather than finding the frequency that is going to allow the wave to take us there. So it's definitely, I do feel when I'm running groups, and creating spaces, there's I'm sure it's because of also just being plugged in a different way and open, so that there's just a tendency to trust and let that guidance come through and support the space. That happens in the groups, which is beautiful for the people there. We just need more and more of these spaces for people to come and experience it. So where can I ask where your retreats are? Where are you being guided to lead? Is it, I know, right now, there's Bali, there's Hawaii, there's Costa Rica, a lot of places that are in the Pacific as well. But do you find yourself kind of staying in that general area or spreading out?
I get guided, it's all a grid work. It's all grid work, embodiment based. So the guidance will say, you're organizing a group of this particular type of constellation, like number of people at this time. It's all very precise. I feel the energies of the next 2 years are so profound. And I'm really, again, trying to walk the talk of this listening and getting out of the way, and also kind of breaking out of time, breaking out of the time constraint of, you need this amount of time to create the retreat. And I don't think so. I think I'm already have been seeing for years that as we're creating in these very guided ways, there is not always, so much notice. There's more of a response to, this is already forming. And then my job as a facilitator is that deeply attuned listening and trust to say, yes, this is happening. And it's actually next week, or it's right now, or it's next year, or whatever. And it's not so much about the time and all of these 3D concerns. There's this deeper trust of, okay, this is happening, and the right constellation of beings will receive the call. Well, it's already happening. My job is just to affirm the calling that these people already have to gather at this time and just hold that knowing. And kind of, they said on my Hawaii retreat, so yes, I've hosted in all the places we mentioned. I call it the Lemurian circuit. So I did that for many years. Sedona, Shasta, all the Hawaiian islands except Kauai and Oahu, actually. Although I feel like we just did a retreat in Oahu in July, so maybe that was part of it. And then, we'll see. I mean, I feel actually called to Europe, Northern Europe, and some of these spots of like Avalon and Ireland, and also the Baltics and some of these more ancient Celtic lines that many of us hold, and all related to Egypt and also Atlantis. Done a lot of work in the Lemurian grids, and it feels, we'll see what opens up. But it's this next 2 years is about more gathering. It is about more collaboration. It is about these really deeply coherent fields connecting in person to do grid work and to create these transference fields where profound activation, healing is happening instantaneously, especially when we're working within these temples, etheric and physical, in these different parts of the earth, some of which are only being like kind of accessed or reactivated at this time because the planetary energies are finally congruent for them to reactivate.
Beautiful. Well, I love hearing about it, and I think it's something I've been following with different people, but also heeding the call, waiting for the timing of it all. So it's beautiful. I also love your description of that drop from the head into the heart and what it means to just listen. And I think, again, we're all at different stages of mastery with that. And it's very sly. It's very sly the way that the head can come in to guide the process. Many times of myself lately too, thinking I was leading with the heart, but realizing the mind was still doing it. So I like to hear and be reminded of it myself. And then, I'm glad that parts of the retreats that are being offered, yourself and others, are to just keep going back in, to keep refining that, retuning that, relearning how to drop into the heart. This is a whole nother way of operating. It's a whole nother way of operating.
It's actually the original way we did for much longer. So all my guidance is just like, remember your heart. And we remember. It's so efficient. It's so easy. The deconditioning is to like stop working so hard.
I love it. I love it. Well, Sydney, is there anything else before we close today that's helpful for folks to know about what you're offering or what's coming next?
Yeah, let me tune in about that. That's a great question.
Okay.
Mostly what's coming next, what's coming now. So I'm just really feeling the beings listening in this supportive field you've created, beautiful light, supporting harmony on the planet, supporting congruence, coherence, safety. Thank you for the permission that you offer for people to open up more and expand their awareness and just be curious, right? This is what I'm really feeling the most, is to kind of synthesize so much of what we've touched on. I will call it the invitation to stay really curious, to track within yourself your level of curiosity. This is a marker of whether or not you are in your heart. The heart is curious. The heart is open. The heart is wanting to learn and wanting to understand and feel and receive, really receive itself. And it is learning. We learn to receive ourselves through deeper opening into others, with others. So this is a very easy way to track. Am I in my heart? Are you curious? Are you open? Are you feeling inquisitive and inspired, by whatever life is giving you, by whatever someone is offering you? Or are you being very kind of rigid and in the knowing, in the, finality, like this is this or this is that? And you'll actually start to feel some of the somatic cues, the body cues of like, what does it feel like to be rigid and knowing and gripping and attaching? Tension, tightness, closed off. Or curiosity. What does it feel like for you in the body? How does it feel in your system? Does it actually feel like expansive or light or fluid or, still grounded, right? We stay grounded and embodied, but we can be open and fluid and clear and receptive. So that might be a fun practice to just contemplate, and kind of like the practice from everything we've touched on. You can track yourself. How curious, how open am I? What does that feel like in the body? And how can you work with that in your next interaction?
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'll tag on to that at the end too, of one of the teachings I often say from some of the work I've done is that fear and curiosity cannot coexist at the same time.
Exactly.
They're opposite. They're different frequencies. So if you're in one, then you're not in the other. If you're not in one, then you're in the other. So these are just inner questions for you to continue to explore, which is part of what this podcast is about, is just taking you on a journey to keep opening and providing the opportunities for growth. And when we do our inner work, then we start to see a shift on the outside. And so much of our process is about taking responsibility for that inner work. So it has been a pleasure to sit with you, Sydney, today, and I said before we started, we're going to open the box way more than we've been opening it. And look what's in the box. Look what's in the box. There's so much in the box.
Yeah, there was no box,
had no
actually.
idea.
There was no box. That's what we found.
So I hope, again, my folks, I know it's like, wow, we're going for it. So I'm excited. I think the timing's right. People that know me personally know way more about me than my podcast guests do. So you're getting to know me some more. So yeah, I appreciate you being here to shepherd that in as well.
It's an honor and a pleasure. How fun.
It was lovely. It was lovely. So thank you again. And we'll have Sydney's information in the show notes, but is there a website that we can let them know where to reach you?
Sure. It's just my name, sydneycampos.com. I have a great newsletter called Soul Source. It's on Substack. I share some fun writing and sometimes video calls and opportunities to create with community.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Paula.